This is a great day in the city of Lancaster, and I truly mean that. This has been a long time coming. It's a great day for us and a bad day for those that would do us harm. Speaking from personal experience, this has taken a while to get here. We had some fits and starts, some very promising starts, but ultimately they were not fruitful. But this really is a good story and a story of perseverance. And it's a testament to Mayor Parris and the City Council, because at the end of the day, those are the folks that are responsible to the community. And once again, they took the road less traveled. They did not take the easy road. Once again, they took a road where they were criticized by a legion of non-believers. And once again, today, the city of Lancaster is blazing a trail that others are going to follow. This time, it's in public safety. What you're going to hear today is what this system does. You're going to hear how it does it. You're going to hear why it's important. You're going to hear specs on its performance, and we're going to answer your questions, and you're going to see the plane later. What you're not going to see is its most important attribute. Its most important attribute is what's going to happen over the next several months as our deputies in Lancaster have a tool that they have never had before to keep us safer and to respond to emergencies better than we've ever been able to do before. That is the success of this. I am very personally proud, and I'm proud to be a member of the City of Lancaster team. We have several people here today I'm going to introduce, and then representing our team, the people you hear from, representing the many people who made the success. You'll hear from our mayor, you'll hear from Captain Bob Johnson, and you'll hear from our private sector partner, AeroView. I'm going to introduce some of the folks now, and then I'll call our mayor up after that. With us is Councilmember Ken Mann. One of the things the mayor did when he first got on was establish citizen commissions. And as you can imagine, there was a little bit of pushback. At the end of the day, it was a spectacular decision because we brought in great people from the community to help. One of those commissions, and one that's been with us since the beginning, is the Criminal Justice Commission, and they're represented today by Newton Gillette. It's very hard to get through bureaucracy at a large organization like the county sometime. Supervisor Antonivich's office helped us tremendously in getting through some red tape to get some of the approvals we needed for antennas and such. Representing the supervisor today is Norm Hickling. We also have with us staunch allies of public safety, our council member, Sandra Johnson, Council Member Marv Christ, Commander from the Sheriff's Department, Region 1, Ray Leyva. And it really is a pleasure to introduce our mayor. This was probably the first thing I talked to him about when he became mayor. And a lot of people would have given up or said, well, maybe it's not in the cards. And that's not in his nature. And I know this is a point of personal pride, but more so pride for our community. And it's with great pleasure I introduce our mayor, Mayor R. Rex Parris.
This is a great day. It took 4 years. It started out with Dick Rutan and I just talking and going from a $30 million project down to a $1.4 million project. But at the end of the day, what we have is Defense Department technology on a civilian budget, and a civilian budget at the worst economic times. There's a lot of people to thank for this, that just jumped on board and helped. Dick Rutan was one of them, of course, who did the initial planning and looking at the various different options. And at the end of the day, it really takes a sheriff that is willing to work with cities and civilians and citizens and listen and develop things together. And this is really something that emerged from the Sheriff's Department and just average citizens getting together and working and working and working. None of it would have happened without Frank Bisco. He took my $30 million project and figured out a way to execute it and did it quickly like he always does. the first business deal I ever had with Frank was I called him up and I said, they're going to auction off this bank building. The next day he had the price for me and everything else, and a week later I owned it. He executes, he gets things done. And so when this thing stalled, I went to Frank, and Frank knew everybody. He knew the companies that were local that could make it happen, and they just didn't tolerate any obstacles. And then it required the captain to say, hey, yeah, this is totally new. It's going to change the way we do things. We have to do it in a way that's affordable, that's effective, and is also not going to scare, all the civil libertarians. And that's the part we're still working on, isn't it? And so how we're going to work on that is we're going to deal with it. We're going to deal with it head on. This program, for a minuscule amount of money, is going to save a lot of lives. And how does it do that? I mean, you can look at an accident scene and immediately know that, did airbags deploy? Did they exit the vehicle? Is there a fluid trail behind the cars? So within 5 seconds, we know exactly what resources to send to that scene. Right now, we send everybody, because there's no way of figuring that out. Same thing with just, day-to-day things that officers need to observe, they need to check out. When they were testing it, one of the officers came down and said, could you just look over in this area? I just need to see if something's there. Saved him an hour of having to drive out and drive back. That's an officer off the street for an hour. The things that this thing is going to be able to do, we don't know yet. But it's going to be the small stuff that makes a huge difference. And it's also, a clear warning to the bad guys. You got to be stupid to come to Lancaster. It's just, there's so many other places you should be unless you want to go to prison. Because it is clearly our goal to make it, the hardworking families of this city are going to be safe. And we're going to do whatever it takes to do it. And you see that in a lot of ways. In this room, there's incredibly accomplished people who are volunteers with the Sheriff's Department. You don't see that anywhere else. The way this department has come together with the city is truly amazing. And as a result, we get things like this. This is the first plane. We'll have another one up in a year. I think it's going to be far more effective than we had hoped it would be.
As Mayor Paris said, it really takes someone who is able to look at an idea and have the vision, but make it happen and enthusiastically make it happen. And we have all of that in our Sheriff's Captain. It's a pleasure to introduce our Sheriff's Captain, Bob Johnson.
The Law Enforcement Aerial Platform System, LEAPS, that acronym is so fitting for this product. Because make no mistake about it, this is no small step for local law enforcement. This is a giant leap forward. For the first time, our deputies will be able to see what only pilots in the air have been able to see before. And with that opportunity, it is extremely exciting for the Sheriff's Department and all the personnel at Lancaster Station for the possibilities that we now have for it with this. From a law enforcement perspective, this is the ultimate safety tool. Not only is it going to greatly assist us in our crime reduction efforts, it's going to dramatically improve our effectiveness in responding to public emergencies, such as fires, earthquakes, traffic collisions, or any other natural disaster. Because now with LEAPS, we have a bird's eye view of activity and circumstances that we just didn't have at the ground level. Within seconds, even though our units may be miles away, we can see what's going on anywhere within the city. If possible and if necessary, we can now track objects, people, or vehicles that are involved in criminal activity. That's going to dramatically increase our ability to effectively and efficiently deploy our resources, communicate information, critical information to our responding units, and apprehend criminals that may leave the scene prior to our unit's arrival. Public safety and a safe environment for this community has always been and will always be our primary objective. The leaders of the city of Lancaster have never wavered in their commitment in making this city the safest city in America. And I believe, because of the great partnerships in place and the amazing work that our new partners at AeroView and Spiral Technology have done in developing this surveillance system, we are well on our way of achieving that goal.
the mayor, since 2008, myself and others have looked at companies all over the country, literally, to bring this to us. So it is with a great deal of pride that we're able to say that the best company in America to do this is based in Lancaster, California. There's Spiral Technology and AeroView, and they're represented today by their president and CEO, Steve McCarter.
Well, I am extremely pleased to report to you this morning that LEAPS is now operational. We will go on full-scale operations on Friday, tomorrow. Last fall, we were asked to look into this particular problem and provide a proposal to the city. We met with the sheriff's department, we met with the city, we got the requirements, we came up with a preliminary design and presented that to the city along with the budget. After that was accepted, we went out and purchased the equipment, most of it commercial off-the-shelf equipment, the plane, the antennas, the cameras, and 2 packages of software. Our job then was to integrate that together in a working system that would meet all the requirements for the city. This we have done. We have placed the camera on the airplane, the antenna to communicate with the ground system, the antennas in the ground system to receive that information, and that is brought to a control station as you see here in front. The operator of this system here controls everything, controls the camera and tells the plane where to fly. There is no information on board the aircraft, and therefore, and that information that goes to the ground is encrypted so it's not intercepted in the pathway. So all the information resides here, secure, and available only to Sheriff's Department personnel. From this point on, we will be working with the operators here to see if there are ways that we can better integrate, if possible, the system into their normal operations. That's the way it was designed, and there will be other things that will come up that will allow us to make the system more useful to the deputies that are using it. We will show you, or Captain Johnson will show you, how the system goes through its modes of operation and let you see some of the video that we take real time for that. At this point, I would like to expand a little bit on some of the pertinent terms of the contract that we have with the city. We believe that this system will be desired by a number of other communities. And there are several things, therefore, as they buy systems from us and we adapt them to their cities, there will be a reduction in the cost to the city for the standard operations. In addition to that, as the mayor has said several times, there will be 12 months of free operation because the city put up the money to start this project. We have engaged mostly local companies where possible to participate in the program, and they have done an excellent job.
You know, we shouldn't make any mistake. This thing is incredibly beneficial, but there are concerns that we should keep paramount, and that is the civil liberties of the law-abiding families in this community. And I'm hoping that as this emerges, I mean, this is a research and development project. It's all happening as we speak, and we're developing it as we speak. That those groups, such as the ACLU, the people that we're oftentimes at odds with, would come now and look at this and have a discussion with us now as to how do we best implement this to protect everyone and at the same time put the people preying on our community behind bars. You know, It's not hard to do that in the incipient stages as it emerges. It becomes very difficult after something is already solidified to then change it. And so hopefully they will come now and have that discussion with us. I mean, how long should we keep the film? You know, how long should we keep the data if there's not criminal activity involved? All kinds of questions that I think we're open to the discussion in order that we can answer them. But make no mistake, this tool is going to make all of us safer. And it's just incredibly exciting that we're doing it here. And the reason it's so magnificent is because we made it cheap. You know, I mean, we could have had a wall filled with, you know, the screens, and we could have darkened the room, and we could have made it look very, very futuristic. But that's not what we're selling. What we're selling is something that's portable, that any city can have it up and running in probably a month now that we've taken so much time. No, more? Less? Oh, come on. And it really is affordable for towns the size of Rosemont to actually field this. And the reason why it's so important is because we have known since the late 60s there is only one way to reduce crime in a meaningful way, and that is certainty of apprehension. You know, it doesn't matter how long these guys are going to be put away if they think they're not going to get caught. It's the certainty of apprehension that keeps people from committing crimes. We also know that what determines whether or not there's certainty of apprehension is response time. We now have a 5-second virtual response time in many cases. We have the quickest response time as far as eyes on, being able to click onto a car and track it faster than any city in the country.
Well, I think this really is a moment you've all been waiting for, is to see how this tool is actually going to be used. And I just want to give you a couple of things to remember as we go through this. One is the camera that's attached to the aircraft is what we consider the eye in the sky. That's what you're going to be seeing. Everything that camera is fixated on is what you'll be seeing on these screens. The aircraft is just a vehicle that takes the camera where we direct it to go. Now, Pat will go through. There's going to be 3 modes that we're going to talk with you about. LEAPS has the ability to have several modes, but the 3 that we're going to be addressing today will be the surveillance mode, which is overall surveillance, the response to an incident mode, and the tracking of an object mode. In a normal, without any incident, major incident going on, we'll be in surveillance mode. That's what you're seeing on the screen right now, as the aircraft is just going around a central track over Lancaster. The camera is fixated at about a 30-degree angle off to the left, and with that, we can see the entire city from that angle. They'll stay in that path, and they'll constantly be recording. And as the mayor said, the advantage we now have is this will be up every day of the week. As of tomorrow, every day of the week, we'll be capturing video. That's a huge advantage for us out here. So in this surveillance mode, circling around this central track, and if you look at the screen over the left, you see a blue outline, and that's that track that I'm talking about. The black circle is the actual aircraft circling that path. But let's say something occurs and we want to respond to an incident. And for our example, we'll use the Walmart at 20th East and J. All the dispatcher has to do is click the coordinates on, and you'll see within seconds that camera will start to reconfigure and go to where the incident is occurring. And like I said, we'll use the Walmart at 20th and J. So as you see, it's starting to fixate over there. So we already have eyes, and now he can increase the magnitude, the zoom capability, up to 22 times. Right now we're only at about 13, but you saw how quickly we're able to see that Walmart and what's going on. The advantage to this is that we can obtain critical information that we can immediately communicate to our responding units. Tell them exactly what we see, what's going on, and we can fixate on there. We'll do a couple examples for you. Right now, he's going to go ahead and track. He can track or lock on to an object, such as a building, an individual, or even a vehicle. And we'll see if we can catch a vehicle leaving. Let's say we're updated and they say the disturbing party's leaving the location. They're in a vehicle, and we want to go ahead and track that vehicle. You see the camera just locked onto that van or that truck that's leaving or driving through the parking lot. That camera will stay on that object until we direct it to do otherwise. That's a huge advantage because right now we know what type of vehicle, the color of the vehicle, the direction of travel, And again, we can always be updating our units that are responding. It's going to increase our ability to respond and apprehend criminals dramatically, because they will not be able to get away. No matter where that truck goes, we can stay fixated. So I'm just going to give you a few seconds to kind of track that, and we'll see where it takes us. Now remember, let's say we don't get there in time and he goes all the way home. Now we know exactly where he's at, and we'll just start setting up our containment and our resources around that location. That apprehension, that certainty of apprehension is here. It is here today and forever after. That is the beauty of this system. They will not be able to get away. They may think they got out of that parking lot without us seeing them, but as you saw, we saw them before we were even there. We miles away, we are now locked on. So let's give it another example. Let's say, for example, this turns out everything's okay, but because of this ability to respond to incidents, other things are constantly occurring. We expect to use this mode very frequently. Let's say we have something going on, an emergency at one of the local high schools. For example, I'll say Eastside High School. The operator will click on, well, you saw before I finished the sentence, we now have eyes on Eastside High School. We can scan in, we can zoom out. We can, again, lock on to an object, a different building. We can do whatever we need to do depending on the circumstances. If we want to zoom in because there's a disturbing party and an individual, we can go again. We're only half the magnitude. We can bring this, well, let me show you this example. Right now, so you understand where we're at, that aircraft is 3,000 feet above ground level. So you're seeing this from 3,000 feet. The operator has the ability to bring this down to 1,500 feet. So let's go ahead and have the aircraft start to descend to 1,500. While it's in this response to an incident, if you see that left screen, that rectangle is no longer there, the far left screen, you now see a small blue circle. That's the path that the aircraft is going to loiter around when it's in this response to an incident mode. So since it's rotating around this high school, it'll stay in this mode until, again, we direct it otherwise. We're going to see, and you're going to see this number here, which is showing you the difference and showing you that it's about 3,000 feet above ground level. We'll start to have the aircraft descend, and as it descends down to 1,500 feet, you'll start to see the picture become even clearer and clearer, because obviously our zoom capability is being magnified even more because we're dropping the altitude and we're increasing the zoom. So when we get into that mode, we can go ahead and pick on an individual. Is there anybody out in the playground today? We'll try to see if there's anybody out. I don't know if it's recess or anything else going on, but if we can see a person, you can see, yes, at this level, you can see what they're wearing, what color their shoes are, whether they're carrying an object. So again, this dramatically increases our officer safety because we can relay this information to the responding units, dramatically increase our effectiveness and our ability to apprehend a disturbing party. So as you see in that upper number that's here, the altitude is dropping. So again, we'll see a better increased picture. Also, we're about a mile. If you're wondering how far the aircraft is from that high school, it's about a mile out. So even from a mile out, the criminals may not even be aware that the plane is up there or a disturbing party. We get great visual from as far as 3 miles out. So again, we can be far away from the incident and still have eyes on it. So is anybody out today that we can... But I think you get the idea. Either way, you saw the ability to, in surveillance mode, you saw how quickly we can respond to an incident. And the other ability that this program has is from a public safety standpoint, you'll see that there's some red dots on the map. We have the ability to put points of interest on. So for example, I can put every high school or every school within the city of Lancaster on our map. So in a matter of minutes, we can scan each one to make sure everything is okay and nothing's happening. We can put our high crime areas. The thing that I didn't mention earlier is that even though you've been pretty much seeing a visual from a 30-degree angle, we can have the camera look straight ahead or directly down. So as we're flying over our areas that we know that are high in crime or problem areas, we can fixate that camera to look directly down. And then if the operator sees something that's going on, a problem, they can start to direct the aircraft from there and increase the zoom or take it out or whatever they want to do. So again, I think you're now seeing why I'm so excited about the possibility of this product. It's immense. We're going to be able to do so much with it to make sure that the residents and the people of this community are safe at all times. So we're going to go ahead and stop the presentation with that. We'll be available for questions and answers and further demonstration. The one thing that we can't show you today, but we'll show you, I think, on a video, the most common question we're asked is this only good during the day? As we've been experimenting with this over the last week, we've found it's extremely effective at nighttime because of its infrared capabilities. But we've taken some video of nighttime surveillance, and you'll see all the heat. It tells us, again, for large parties, we get a lot of those calls on the weekend. We can now immediately go to that location, see how large the party is. It's very clear how many people are there because of the body heat that they release. So again, another very positive advantage for this tool.
Okay, these folks will be available for the media after this. We also then have the plane which has landed at its base, Fox Field, and you'll be able to go out there and take photos of the plane as well too. But folks up here available for the media as you need. Thank you very much for coming.